Good morning everyone. I request all of you to open up your cameras. So we have around 73 students now. So we can start.
So let us start the discussion. Yesterday we have already discussed two broad approaches that can be employed for developing a career plan, and these two broad approaches can be crisply put as outside in versus inside out approach. So naturally, career the way it evolves is a combination of the two. There are some things which we do, and there are something which happen to us, and the career revolves as a result of interaction of the two. So, for example, when we are talking about concepts, and I shared with you my own life's journey, so there were many things which happened to me. For example, when I went to IIM Ahmedabad in 1992, 93, I met a professor there, Professor Pestanji, who was in a league, and all and out a league. And he became a mentor to me there, and under his guidance, my interest in stress management got evolved because he was an expert on that. Now, this is something which happened to me. It was not something which was planned. So there will be many things which will happen to us, but there are many initiatives which we have to take. And like for example, I note in the write-ups, some of you are blessed with good communication skills, but majority of them who have some felicity with the language, they too need to develop a language sense. And when I was talking about the issue of correctness, I have highlighted this point. So there are many things which we can do on that account, which can help us put our best foot forward in the employment market. Like those of you who come from not that background where you've got a proper grooming in English language, there are approaches which can be employed, and especially this pandemic on that account is a blessing because we have a lot of time to groom ourselves, doing right kind of efforts so that our language competence develops, which is going to be a major input in our career building, I suppose. So likewise, I would like you to reflect on this. As we have said yesterday, it is going to be an open session. Yesterday, we had limited time for interaction. So I would like to have a feel of what the group is thinking on that account. What is their assessment of the external world? And then, like for example, which as in their assessment are going to be the sunrise sectors, post-pandemic world, and then what efforts you can initiate at your own level to prepare yourself for those sectors which are going to be the happening sector in the economy. So let us initiate the discussion. Let me have some trigger points from the group so that we can build up on that. Let us begin with this question first. What is your assessment? Which are going to be the happening sectors post-pandemic?
Audible?
Yes, Waqas.
Sir, I think blockchain is going to be the happening sector, like so just not just exactly just after the pandemic, but I think in the upcoming decade, it is going to the next big thing. Like internet was a big thing in like previous decade. Blockchain is going to be because I think my belief is I think what the internet has many features, but what it lacks is like the rise of internet. We have fake news. We have this credibility issue with this internet. There are a lot of fake news. There are a lot of fake rumors. So any thing can be replicated a number of times. So blockchain exactly solves that problem to a great extent. So that I think that will be the next big thing.
Okay, that's good. I'll request Dr. Faraz to comment on it, but let us hear a few more observations or comments. Blockchain, Waqas feels, is going to be the next big thing.
Yes, Zishan. Adnan, you have raised the hand. You may unmute yourself.
Sir, I think medical sector will have a boom. Like we saw how what was the importance of medical sector and its management, and the steps of the government regarding the medical sector. Like UP government started for managers for health services. So I think the next big thing will be the health sector.
Medical services, which I think would include personal services also.
Yes, sir. A lot of change has been seen in personal sector also, like one face-to-face meeting through applications, like online consulting from doctors. So that is also maybe next big thing.
I think in addition to what I meant by personal services was many people rather than going to hospitals are deciding to stay home and get the services there. Either they have to or they prefer to. Either way, they would need personal services. Yes. Okay, what else? So, blockchain, medical services, personal services. What else do you think is going to be the major sector?
Tourism sector will grow.
Kamran, you have raised the hand. You may open up your camera also, Kamran.
Tourism sector will grow at a faster pace as government is also focusing on it, like theme-based tourism. We have a Buddhist circuit also made by the government
Kamran, your voice is not reaching to us clearly. Can you repeat?
Okay, sir. Wait. Am I audible, sir?
Still not.
All right. Anyone else?
Sir,
But I couldn't get his point, Kamran's point. What was his point? Could you get?
Maybe he can, Kamran, you can write it in the chat box if your audio is not working.
That's a good idea. Yes, who was raising the hand?
sir, I'm saying that financial services companies like who are doing insurance policies is going to boom in future. Like people are getting so much operating cost when they were actually infected with the COVID. So they are much conscious about their future. So insurance companies are going to boom in future. I believe that.
Okay, insurance sector.
I think online marketing as well as cashless payment will also increase. It is increasing nowadays also, but later on it will increase more.
So you feel there is still more scope for companies like Paytm?
Yes, sir. So like Google Pay now introduced a new feature also that you can pay through any QR code at any shop. So it will increase.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Kamran is saying that tourism sector will see a boom
Okay, tourism sector.
as government is focusing on theme-based tourism. Various circuits like Buddhist circuit, and India is also part of that Buddhist circuit.
Okay. So will it be like virtual tour or because
Real one. Okay.
real one? Okay.
Okay. Subia, you want to say?
I was perusing a startup where the lady has started virtual tours because people are preferring to stay home and they still want to have a feel. So she thought that this is a good idea to work on.
Augmented reality is now coming into.
Yes. And through augmented reality, this is possible to create that situation.
Yes. Yes, Subia, you can continue.
Yes, I was just adding to the list of things which Sir said, which will see a boom post-pandemic. So, according to me, education via online mode, or we can see nowadays different universities starting their online programs so that students in different countries can have an access to it. So, it might also see a boom.
True. Yes, we have few hand raisers. Varis. You may unmute yourself, Varis. Not audible. Still not audible. Okay, Varis, you check your audio. Let us continue. Aisha, you missed.
Yes, so home delivery services would get a boom, like food delivery, medicine delivery, and essentials delivery.
Okay, so let us call it hyperlocal. Eh? Hyperlocal will get a boost.
Hyperlocal, what does that mean? I could not get it.
Actually, this is a new term which is like the last mile logistics, the problem of last mile logistics, which is like though logistics services and long distance logistics services was already available, but now very personalized, individual, localized services are available. So that's called hyperlocal right now.
Sure. Okay.
Yes, Rajat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I think online gaming is a sector which sees boom because during the lockdown, more people exposed in online gaming, and there is a lot of potential. Right now, there are some only Chinese firms like Tencent. They are growing a lot from online business, and Indian billionaire also investing in online gaming. So I think this is a sector where.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So we'll come back to this. Adnan, you have raised hand. You are raising hand or right?
Yes, sir. Sir, I wanted to add one more sector, which I think may boom. Not just right after the COVID, but when the things get stable, people might switch over to electric vehicles. The transportation system might as a whole, like buses and the vehicles that police uses or government sector uses, might say a flow towards electric vehicles, as they're also betting for it. The government and petrol prices are also rising. So I think that will take us toward that path.
Very good. Very good. So, Varis, you are still raising a hand. Can you speak up now?
Or if you are not able to
And write it on
sort
chat.
out that problem, you can write it on the chat box.
Meanwhile, Usman, you can take up.
Yes, so I would like to add the concept of digital marketing is going to boom after this pandemic, and the entrepreneurship. I mean, new businesses will now enter in the business. Like earlier, we have only Zoom of apps which can be used in digital meeting and all this.
Good point. Very nice. All right. So I think there are quite a lot of sectors. Okay, some people are using the chat. Telecom sector will get a boom because of communication and implementing bandwidth issues. Okay, OTT platforms. Okay. Yes.
What is OTT?
The platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime, all these entertainment platforms, online on-demand kind of platforms.
Raz,
Over the top.
would you like to comment now on?
Yes, sir.
What is your assessment, Faraz?
Sir, as far as these sectors, I think what I'm really happy about that most of the students are quite aware about the growing sectors, and this is a very interesting point which has come up at a very right point in our discussion, because now we are moving towards planning our careers. Now, please, one thing which you should keep in mind while planning your careers or making your career plan is the growth, is the trajectory of these sectors. And if, like for example, I'll give you one of my senior who was an alumnus of our department. You can check his profile. Recently, he wrote a very nice. He's hiring also. He wrote a very nice LinkedIn. Shared one LinkedIn post. Syed Atif Umar. So he did his electrical engineering from Aligarh. Then he went on to serve. I think he was in GE for a while, and then he came back and did his MBA from our department. After graduating from our department, he went to serve many banks. But in the banks, he was, because of his electrical engineering background and his interest in quantitative techniques and all these things, he developed himself in analytics. So, and he developed himself in analytics, and at that time, it is like quite some time now. At that time, there was no boom of analytics as such. The way we see today, data science, everyone is talking about data science, data analytics. At that time, there was not boom. But yes, it was a growing sector. People were mentioning that analytics will see the rise. And today he is the head of analytics of Flipkart, vice president of Flipkart. He recently, I think 2 years back when he was in Aligarh, I remember, sir, we had a guest lecture by him. At that time, he made that move to come to us to work for a startup. He was the VP analytics for Citibank, established bank of MNC, and he made a move to switch to a startup in Flipkart. And he had written that post recently. You can go and check his post on LinkedIn, and he's very satisfied with his decision. And in fact, the kind of work he is doing. And Flipkart is not a startup anymore. It is acquired by Walmart. So now he is a Walmart employee. So he's doing a lot of things in that. So this is what we mean, that you align your interest with the growing sectors. That is a good strategy for like combination of outside in and inside out. That's what sir has been pointing out, that it is a combination which happens. I'm very happy to see that what the kind of things you are aware of, like for example, blockchain someone is talking about. I don't know why nobody mentioned artificial intelligence as such, AI, but I'm sure that it must have been in the back of your mind. Very interesting. Someone pointed out online gaming. Rajat, very interesting point, because recently I was watching this a very famous television series, which every year basically Pranay Roy and there is a famous person, Ruchir Sharma, who was the head of, I think, McKinsey forecasting or something. So he gives a decadal trends. So in that decadal trends, he named online gaming as one of the major trend of this decade. And though there was a question of even Pranay Roy pointed out this question: will people become more unproductive because of online gaming and all these things? But the real answer is that whether it is about productivity or not, but this industry is already seeing a boom, and it is one of the most profitable industries in the world right now. And so that's why people are betting really, money is pouring into this industry. Many of you pointed out mobility, electric vehicles and mobility is going to see a boom. We see a lot of, and if you want to really understand the sectors which are going to grow in the future, you also have to try to look at the investment patterns of the industry, and especially of intelligent investors, and the people who really understand these terms. People like right now, Peter Thiel is one of them. Elon Musk, though sometimes very irresponsible in his comments, but overall quite good at doing all of these things. But that's fun. Many of you pointed out financial services and insurance services, and in fact, what I would give the new term which is there: insurtech and fintech. Okay. And healthcare services, and in fact, healthcare as well as home care services. So both of them are seeing the boom, and we are seeing, and all of this will require digital marketing. All of these services, online services, will require digital marketing, because people are the same, and to push your products and services, you will need digital marketing. Okay, and digital marketing is already seeing a boom, and it's an ever-growing field. Marketing has always been ever-growing field, but the nature of marketing keeps on changing. Today, there's a lot of analytics goes involved in marketing. It is not just simple television ads or simple one-to-many ads. Today, it is much more personalized. It is much more digitally driven, and we are seeing very interesting theme-based tourism and on experiences. I feel that the market of experiences is also very, very interesting, and it is growing. In fact, then online education and IT sector nobody mentioned, because see, in all of this, telecom someone mentioned, but IT is the bedrock of all of this. So this sector as a fundamental sector is going very, very strong, and it is Like today, right now, you must have seen the news that how many these top IT players have announced that they are going to hire 1 lakh freshers and all these in the coming next 1.5 year. Infosys, Genpact, and all these companies have announced recently. In fact, a lot of top recruiters in the world are today IT companies. And one of the interesting trends which we have seen in the recruitments of IIMs also, that earlier there were consultancies like KPMG and McKinsey and all these consultancies, Bain Consulting, were the top recruiters. But lately what we have seen, an entry of IT companies which were earlier recruiting only engineers. Today they are going to IIMs to recruit managers and people who can manage those engineers. So understand, people who can like make business models out of artificial intelligence and this fintech and insurtech. So that's what we are seeing in this. So I think it is a very interesting world right now. Someone also mentioned entrepreneurship. In fact, entrepreneurship as such is not an industry as such, but if you look at all of these things, you look at mobility, you look at blockchain, you look at healthcare, fintech, health tech, insurtech, or online gaming, you find that there are entrepreneurs behind a lot of this disruption which is going on. Okay, there is a displacement of the top ranked employers. There is a displacement in the Fortune 500 companies. There is displacement going around, disruption going around in the traditional employment scene as such. Okay, so and this is driven by entrepreneurship. Obviously, there are today, Byju has become one of the top recruiters of our university. Recently, Byju's recruited a lot of people from our university. Earlier, still the traditional employers like ITC and all these, they have reduced their hiring. But Byju and Swiggy and Zomato, they are increasing their hiring. Oyo, all of these players. So that's what, and it is very important to align your interest, because every one of you must be having some skills already, some interest, some aspirations. Now the real work lies in understanding how do you match these two things, what's going around in the industry, and there must be something which can click with your skills, which can click with your aspirations. So the real essence of this exercise will be to find out that can you match those two things, and can you create a roadmap around that?
Can I have an intervention,
yes, sir,
Dr. Faraz, at this juncture? See, many of you, while talking about values, in addition to aspirations, values also guide our decisions. Like, for example, when I was looking at your write-ups, many of you want to, do a meaningful work, isn't it? Now that relates to values. So, for example, but I'm surprised that nobody mentioned social sector as one of the sector, upcoming sector where some employment opportunity exists. So that is one thing. The second thing which I noted a major omission in the discussion is the entire agricultural sector in the country. Nobody mentioned that. In fact, if Indian economy survived during this pandemic, it was because of a robust agricultural system in our country. Despite all these farmers' protests and all that, agriculture continues to be the major employer in the country. Almost 60% of the country depends on agriculture and agro-based services. So I'm surprised that nobody mentioned this sector. Then I will also request Dr. Faraz to speak a bit about that unique experience we have had in Bangalore, especially with that lady who launched that Samosa King.
Samosa Singh.
Huh? Samosa Singh, yes.
Nidhi, I remember Nidhi. Yeah, in fact, let me throw some light on these two sectors which as sir have also shared, the development sector and the agri-tech sector. If you look today, and there is a lot of emphasis today on development sector. which we call social sector as such. But and there is lot of investment going on in meaningful or impactful investment. That is called impact investing today. Okay, there are venture capitalists who are primarily focused on creating sustainable business models for impacting a large population in a sustainable manner without the dominant focus on profits. There is a focus on profits, there is a focus on financial sustainability, but that is not the primary focus. Okay, primary focus is impact. And I'll share with you one example of there is in India there is a very big organization. You have heard about eBay. All of you have heard about eBay. So the founders of eBay had created basically an organization called Omidyar. They are Omidyars, Omidyar India Network. Okay, it's a worldwide. They are venture capitalists, but in India they are basically primarily focusing on impact investing and investing in entrepreneurs and in business models which are helping the grassroots people. Like for example, somebody talked about fintech. Okay, but fintech including financial inclusion of people. Okay, impacting a large number of people and getting them into the financial sector and getting financial services to them. So that's what is happening. And secondly, what sir has pointed out, agriculture sector. In fact, there is again a new term, agri-tech, and in fact, even there are many today top entrepreneurs in India who are working in this sector and creating kind of a revolution, a silent revolution, which is like going. And in fact, many of the top venture capitalists in the world, they like what sir has just now pointed out, that they have also underlined this fact that in India, if India would want to come into the world map of entrepreneurship, it will be because of the large-scale revolution and large-scale changes happening in the agriculture sector of India, driven by entrepreneurship. And this is what agri-tech sector is. I'll ask you to go and study about a company called Ninja Cart. There is a company called Ninja Cart. It had recently, Facebook has invested in this company. A lot of big venture capitalists have invested in this company. And it is, what it's simply doing, it is helping farmers, it's organizing farmers and getting the perishable products, improving the supply chain of this, and done by a very simple startup, but had grown now into something very big. And similarly, there are many examples of entrepreneurs trying to create a dent in this agri-tech sector. Okay. So all of this is backed by a willingness to change things and willingness to experiment. Now, what sir has pointed out, a very interesting experience we had when we were in Bangalore. I think so 4 years back, most.
Yes, 4 years.
4 years back, we were in Bangalore. We were attending a training program organized by Vadhwani Foundation on entrepreneurship. And it was a very practical training program, and we had a lot of entrepreneurs coming and talking to us also in between. And among them, the one which we remember the most is one lady, which she came and she was a co-founder of a company called Samosa Singh. And many of you might not have heard about this term because you have stopped going to PVRs and because of pandemic. So they had already had a tie-up with PVRs, and PVRs had Samosa Singh stalls in most of their, and usually they're very popular in South India. Bangalore, they are Bangalore based, and both of these, this lady Nidhi was basically a sales executive with Biocon in biotechnology sector, and her husband is a scientist. He was also in biotechnology sector. He was a scientist. And so from there, and none of them had ever, their families, they were from army background and all, they were never started their anything of that sort, but they had this vision that can we make a global Indian snack, and that was the idea. And they started with, and they said that one of the most popular snack in India is samosa. so can we do something about samosa? And they applied all their scientific knowledge and the food engineering and all they learned about the perishability of samosa and the varieties of samosa and making it less oily and more like tasty, as well as like and improving the shelf life through different techniques and all. And they did a fantastic job, in fact. And
Less potato also.
potato, yeah. And we tasted the samosas ourselves, so it was they were very good. And
Samosa without chutney.
samosa without chutney, and in fact they had created a samosa which had a chutney in itself. Okay, so you just like break the samosa and the chutney flavor is there itself. Okay, so you don't need a chutney, so it is less messy. So so they have all this ideas that, okay, how can we make it less messy? How can we make it more like a snack which can even be consumed in corporate meetings? Okay, and the size of the samosa was very adequate. In fact, there was not very large and all. And there are a lot of varieties of samosa, which they have around 35 varieties of samosa at that time when they were saying. So likewise, this is one of the innovations which they did, and they had to some in between they had to sell their flat to sustain their business. In fact, it was a decision which they made consciously, but she was mentioning that it was like a news item in one of the magazines that they had to sell their flat. It was a conscious decision that they would like to delay this process and invest the money in their venture, and they finally paid it off. And they wanted to also export samosa, this thing, to the entire world. So that's what their vision is.
In fact, the interesting part in that was that when they had established themselves quite well, the parents of this lady came to Bangalore and they said, ठीक है, तुम कामयाब हो गई and all that, लेकिन हमने तुम्हारी शादी साइंटिस्ट से करी थी, तुम हलवाई के साथ रह के खुश हो तो ठीक है, this is your decision. So that mindset that we have, कि samosa is made by halwais, so that those barriers are still there when we get into entrepreneurship.
If that halwai can become a Haldiram, and I don't have any problem in becoming a halwai.
No, halwais are getting into education also. You have lovely professional university.
Professional university, yes.
Basically, the fellow was a halwai. So this is the kind of, again, it's a way of looking at the world. You can say it's a very happening world, or you can say that, it's a depressing world.
Sir, I have a question from Fraser. Sir, earlier you mentioned that artificial intelligence is going to boom in the future. So my question is that, isn't it going to take job from semi-skilled country like India, where most of the people is semi-skilled? So I have gone through many articles where they are mentioning that it is going to occur problem to the people who are actually semi-skilled.
Before I request for us to comment on it, what happened to banking sector when computers came?
It actually provides the job opportunities to the people.
So actually, what happens is whenever these developments take place, some reskilling is required. And yes, there are jobs at the lower end which are always there. Like, for example, that is why some sectors will continue to be very stable sectors. Agriculture being one of them. So all these gaming and fintech and all that, that's fine, but there you have to move ahead of others, because the rate at which technological obsolescence takes place is very high. So only those who are able to, pace up with the technological developments, they will be able to survive in that kind of scenario. Even this aggregator model which is evolving, I don't know, I mean, Faraz will comment more authentically on this. Is it going to be a stable model? There's a lot of funding which is coming, but are these companies inherently sustainable? And you have seen what happened to OYO, for example. Umar is working, Faraz Umar is working there, Ahmed Umar.
Ahmed Umair, yes.
Yes, and he was telling me how many people are losing the jobs by each day. And he was telling, I mean, almost 52,000 people have already lost the job. And he is one of the few, fortunate ones who has survived.
Yes, actually, there is kind of a dilemma here when we talk about jobs and AI, and in fact, a lot of discussion around everywhere. So I'll ask you to like what example sir has given, that what happened to banking sector when computers came, and the first bank which went on strike was SBI. And today SBI has the largest number of, I think, still the largest number of ATMs and banks in the use of technology. The off-branch experience is again the best, one of the best of SBI, not the on-branch experience. I think on-branch is still the worst because of the pressure it had. And but off-the-branch experience is one of the best. The simplicity of the technology of SBI, I think. But yes, others are catching up, and the private sector is doing a good job. However, there is this is always, whenever a new technology comes, there is always a fear of this technology. Okay, and this fear leads to these kind of debates around it. But and whenever a new technology comes and any kind of disruption comes, there will be a displacement of jobs. There is no question about it. There is no doubt about it. There will be displacement of jobs. There will be people who will be less prepared. There will be people who will be unprepared. And these are the people who will have to face the brunt of this. And they will require reskilling and upskilling. And but there are people, like for example, I gave you an example of one of my senior, Sayyid Atif Umar. So do you think that after doing his MBA from here, he stopped studying? And he went on to become the vice president of this Citibank without doing anything, without learning about analytics. He never stopped learning about analytics and the latest trends of analytics. He still did a lot of certifications and went to various organizations, various educational institutions to upskill himself in this new area. Because that MBA, what we had here, was not enough for him, for his career. So no education. Do you think your education till your 10th standard, 12th standard will be enough for you to take you forward? No. The answer is simply no. And this is like the shift. This is also a shift which is taking place. It's also helping the online education industry, that the focus, our focus on concentrating all our educational efforts in the first 20 years of a person's life is now being challenged. Now the concept of lifelong learning is there. Okay. So let me just share my screen. I have a very interesting thing to share with you. Just to give you this, there is this, I would request you to go and view this TED Talk by Kai-Fu Lee. Kai-Fu Lee is one of the top scientists in artificial intelligence. He was head of Google China and Google Yahoo, I think Microsoft China and all. So what he says that the kind of jobs AI will displace, and how will the jobs which do not need compassion and which needs high level of optimization will be replaced in the left, you can see left quadrant, will be replaced by AI, completely AI. And then there are jobs which require AI plus humans plus AI, where humans are again very dominant, where it requires a lot of creativity and strategy and thinking. So here humans will be dominant, but they will need the assistance of AI. And that do not require a lot of compassion. However, he says that there are going to be jobs where humans will again require the assistance of AI, but humans and AI will basically complement each other. And human will still play a dominant role, where optimization is required, but compassion is, and this new kind of jobs will emerge. So he says that there, you can see that some examples he has given. For example, the routine kind of jobs like truck driver or courier services or security guard, telesales, dishwashers, customer support, these kind of things, they are repetitive routine jobs and they can get disrupted very fast with this. However, there are complex jobs like a job of an economist or a CEO or a merger and acquisition expert, which may require still a lot of complexity, but humans will be at the forefront. They will require AI tools to help them. But however, the best part is you look at the left-hand side, right corner, left corner. You will find that there kind of the jobs which require a lot of compassion. They will still have, like elderly care will be new will be one of the major what we are seeing, geriatrics care and elderly companion, teaching jobs, and tour guides and remote tutors and wedding planners and all, which still require a lot of human warmth, which we call, but AI analysis is required today. So this is what we will see in the future in the AI space. So obviously there will be displacement of jobs, but that's what we have to understand, that can we align ourselves with the kind of growth trajectory of some of the sectors, keeping in view, having that inside-out approach also, aligning things with our interest, aligning things with our passions, our values, which are set. Okay, can we create this match?
So this question of relevance of your work will always be there. So gaming, for example, may be interesting, but sometimes at some stage you may ask, is it relevant what I'm doing? But people who have done jobs like, Professor Yunus of Bangladesh, their work will continue to be relevant. Isn't it? So I wish there are some people in the group who are aspiring to be, earn a Nobel Prize for doing such kind of work. Since long, this part of the world has witnessed, conferment of Nobel Prize for such kind of work. And I would wish somebody reads his book, Banker of the Poor. So why Bangladesh is growing leaps and bounds, in fact, on many accounts, it has surpassed India. It is because of the work of Professor Muhammad Yunus.
So in fact, to gaming, I come that there is a new term which is called gamification. Okay, it's not a new term, but it's now become very old. Gamification. So if you are using gamification for something, like for example, you have heard about a website, an app called Duolingo. Have you heard about? So Duolingo has applied gamification for learning languages, and Foldit. They have applied gamification to folding of proteins. So if you can think of something which becomes like gamified way of learning, in fact, there's a lot of effort going on in making learning fun for kids and gamification of things. So, so if you can apply those concepts of gaming and all to something which is like Lumosity, yes, and in fact they have like quizzes for psychological upgradation and all these things, like testing you and all. So if you can do that, it will be great.
But my experience is, and for us, you remember in Bangalore, we met an entrepreneur who was working on gamification.
Yeah, Sandeep Rambatla.
Yeah. So they are often very good in the technical part of it, but they are not able to evolve a commercial model. How will those gamifications be, sustainable? Who will pay for them? For example, children. Now, naturally, either the school should pay or the parents should be ready to pay. Then it would be a commercial model. So many of such tech experts are getting into it, but they are not till date. I don't know. I may be unaware, But do we have successful commercial models also evolved out of that?
Adnan, you want to say something?
Sir, I just want to add one point and ask one thing. Like some of the companies are using these games to recruit. Like they call it psychometric test, and they use it to test you if you are a suitable candidate for the company or not. So I think that gives the answer for the question of the sir, that is it a sustainable model or not? Like the companies are using it. If the companies like other companies start using it, that becomes more sustainable and profitable. So can we put this in gamification category?
Yeah, why not? Because like what the answer to sir's question is also like Sandeep Rambutla last year, we invited him for a guest lecture in entrepreneurship class. And his model has now very much evolved, and he is making money, and he has found that right mix of business model, and he has had a new partner with him who can understand. He was a very good technical person, like very rightly pointed out by sir. He was very good in this. He was an engineer and all. So he got a marketing person, and he got a person who can understand UX, user experiences, and then he created something. And likewise, the companies are using for recruitment a lot of combining psychometric tests with fun-based games and all. And companies like Google and companies, even top recruiters today, they want people who can work in. They can assess them with these techniques in a better way. So I think there are business models which are being developed. The sustainability again is a question, Adnan. Right now, it's too early to comment on the sustainability of these business models. I would say that only time will tell, because that it looks very good at the disruption stage, but can they become like a real good business model? Only time can tell, because if time and again they have to prove themselves. Like the others have proved themselves. Like Apple have proved itself that it has a sustainable business model, though the prices are unsustainable of their iPhones, but still it's the sustainable business model.
Faraz, I think you can share a word about that write-up which they are supposed to.
Now we will. It's already time, and we have to wind up. And we are going to. We have given you an assignment based on whatever we have covered so far in this course. And the second assignment, it's about planning your career. It's creating a career plan. So it now naturally flows from that this Who Am I exercise, where you have tried to understand yourself better. And there is a very simple template where you have to match those things which you have. You can refine those things after the discussions we have had so far, and your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and your aspirations, and then look at the careers, look at the job descriptions out there, look at the LinkedIn profiles of people who have followed that similar kind of career path which you want to follow, okay, and try to basically understand the kind of skills and competencies which are required. And then one thing is understanding those things and then making a plan out of it. So the people who will be successful will be the people who can understand what are the skills and competencies required, convert them into your personal goals, okay, and then also create a timeline out of those goals, okay. So this is the template. You can is a template visible? Can all of you see this template? Yes. So this is like the similar part where you can refine what you have done in the Who Am I exercise, and there the second is you have to gather information from the job descriptions, and job descriptions are very detailed, where they mention the kind of skills, the kind of responsibilities a person in that job will have to perform. Now think about those things, look at those things, and try to figure out whether you have that skill or not, okay, and then plan your future skill development, like what are the training and development opportunities you have to look for. Option one can be, I have just given an example, advanced knowledge of data science, say for example. You can have something else, okay? And prerequisites and requirements to qualify for this option. What you need, do you have something, or you need to learn more things? Like this, there can be a lot of, so this is just a template. You can add more options, like for example, you can add more option 4 and 5 also, then make the choice, match those choices, create the goals out of this choice, and goals should be very, very specific. Okay. And then how will you make it like a commitment, a start date, a completion date, the exact skill or knowledge you want to gain out of this, how will it be gained? Whether you want to get it now, whether you want to get it after the class or before the class, in your summer internship, whatever it is. Who will help you? Who will be the provider of that skill? Maybe it's a company, maybe it's an instructor, maybe it's as a mentor, whosoever it is. And then your commitment that you are going to, you have agreed to this plan of action and you sign it for yourself that, okay, we are going to adhere to this and with this date. So that's what this exercise will be about. And you have a whole week now to complete this exercise. So you have time till Sunday. Okay, so Sunday 11 a.m. is the deadline for this activity, and take your time. And if you have any doubts regarding anything, you can WhatsApp. You use the WhatsApp group and to send us the queries. Okay, or you can post it on the Google Classroom also if you have a general query. Okay.
Let's call it a day. We have already crossed by 12 minutes.
We crossed a lot of time. It was a very interesting discussion. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.